Hi again. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about summer camps. Summer camps are something that almost every child experiences at some point in time in their life, and they can be a blast. But summer camps can also be a real source of anxiety for many children and parents. We kind of expect our children when they're little and we're leaving them maybe in the nursery at church or something to have some separation anxiety. We're ready for that, and we kind of work through that. But we don't think about our children when they're older quite as much having those same feelings and those same anxieties. And much like we had to work through with our younger children, toddlers, reassuring them and walking them through that anxiety, we need to think about and consider doing the same thing for our kids when they go off to summer camp. Now, ironically, I'm sitting here writing notes to my daughter who is leaving for summer camp, church camp, tomorrow. She's the youngest of our 5 daughters, and believe it or not, she's 19, but still, I know she's going to have a blast and a wonderful time, but I want her to know while she's gone I'm thinking about her. So way back years ago when the first ones started going to camp or mission trips, I started writing them a little note and sent it in their suitcase with them, and it was marked, labeled for each day: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they were supposed to open that card on that day, and it just had a message from me in there. Maybe it was a Bible verse or an encouraging word, or maybe even a prayer for them for that day. Just something to let them know that I was thinking about them, and to keep that home connection a little bit alive with them. But when we think about kids going away, especially for the first time to camp, I would encourage you to maybe think about not making it a full week or longer the first time they go away. That's quite a bit to bite off for someone on a first time away from home, at camp especially, because camps can really wear you out. Maybe look into a day-long camp or a 1 or 2 night camp first, and then build up into that weekly camp, or even longer. Some camps go longer than that. And then think about what your expectations are for your child at camp, and let them know that just because they're away from you, there are still expectations that you have for them. You have taught them how to behave. You've let them know what expectations you have, and those expectations carry over at camp. And likewise, the leaders of those camps have expectations and rules that they're to follow too. And you don't want to tell them that so they feel like all they've got are rules, but you want to let them know that there is structure. Children may act like they like chaos, but they don't. They feel very threatened and uneasy when things are chaotic around them. So the more structure you can tell them to experience or to expect, the better off they're going to feel about going and being away from you. And that kind of brings me into the thought about what happens if something happens while I'm away. Many kids at school I've had over the years that have had real fear of thunderstorms or of tornado drills. What do I do? What's going to happen? And if your child is away at camp, they're going to feel anxious about those types of things too. So you need to reassure them that the people running the camp know, they've practiced, they know all the rules, they know exactly what to do, and they're trained in how to care for your children in those situations. So just reassure them that whatever comes up, the people who are there watching over them are taking their jobs very seriously, and they're going to take good care of your child while your child is away from you. Sometimes parents make the mistake of going overboard on the I'm going to miss you emotions. We say, oh, what am I going to do a whole week without you? Oh my goodness, I'm going to miss you so much. And when we say things like that, rather than letting our child feel how much we love them, what we kind of do oftentimes is creating them this feeling that, oh, maybe that's how I'm supposed to feel too. Maybe I'm not really supposed to want to go. And so you need to let them know, say, hey, I'm going to miss you, but you are going to have such a good time. I can't wait to hear all about your experience. And then take it a step further and give them a journal or a notebook that they can write down those experiences for you. They don't have to write a book. They don't even have to write it in sentences, but just like zipline, fun, things like that, so that when they come back, you can sit down with that journal together and you can go over those experiences. So chalk it up with excitement. Let them know that you want them to be there having a good time, that you're going to be fine without them. You'll miss them, but that they're where they need to be and they're going to have a really good time. They don't need to worry about you and things going on at home. Again, if it's the first time that your child's going on a camp or away at a camp, I recommend that maybe you have a buddy or a friend go with them, somebody familiar. That will make that anxiety and that transition a little easier. And one thing I did with my girls is, for their first few times away, I went as a chaperone. And if I couldn't go, then one of the older sisters went as a chaperone. And that's not saying we were going to be a helicopter hovering parent, but I think it eases your child into knowing that, okay, somebody's there in case I do have a problem, and they build up their confidence so that then the next time they're more confident to be able to handle things more on their own. So plus, when you go, you get to have fun and experience it with them, and you don't need to go to every station or every group or every activity with them, but just knowing that you're there will ease a lot of anxiety. And then what happens if your child just truly is so anxious that they are miserable? I went to 6th grade camp for many years, and I was amazed at the number of 6th graders that were so miserable at camp. And this was just a 2-night, 3-day camp that we had to call their parents. And a lot of times it was the tough boys, these boys that you looked at and you thought they were so cool, they thought they had it all under control, and they had to go home because they got physically sick. They were that homesick, they were that anxious. So if your child is truly that miserable, don't just come at the drop of a hat, but if the counselors there have tried everything and you've talked to them and tried to convince them to stay, and they still are not feeling comfortable, then I suggest that you go get them. Don't ever make them feel like they're trapped somewhere. And then encourage them to try it again, and maybe try some of these other steps that we've talked about if you haven't been able to do that, like go as a chaperone or go with a buddy or something like that. Camps can be so much fun. They can be the highlight of many kids' summers. But if you go about it the right way, it can be even more beneficial, more fun, a greater learning experience for both them and for you. It's hard. It's hard as a parent to let go. We are filled with some worries and anxieties ourselves, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And I do encourage you to check into the camp before you send your child, and make sure, maybe even go and look it over. Make sure it is the type place that is going to nurture your child and take the best care of them as possible, because your child is your most valued responsibility and possession, and you want to make sure that you have them getting the best care, the most fun that they can possibly have. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you get to share some wonderfully exciting camp stories with your child. See you next time.